Okay, so today we're talking about why the diet industry is a soul-sucking monster, right? I mean, that says it all. Enough said. The diet industry is a soul-sucking monster. And we're going to break down today why never trust a four-letter word where the first three letters spell die, and get into, all things dieting. Let me just read this list of, this is from my book, The Binge Cure. I'm going to read this list of diets. Okay, there's Jenny Craig, Paleo, South Beach, fasting, the cookie diet, the grapefruit diet, Atkins, juicing, the ketogenic diet, the blood type diet. Oh, remember that? The macrobiotic diet, the Mediterranean, raw food, sugar buster, Weight Watchers, the zone, and so many more. Dr. Aliza, what diets have you been on, and what was the worst diet you ever went on?
What breaks my heart is that almost all of those, I have been on almost all of those. I started dieting probably as early as fifth grade, and they just kept on coming, right? Like every time something didn't work, I would try something else. And I mean, I was so young. I didn't even know any better, and I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody else to know. I wanted it to just seem like I was a skinnier person because my fatness was such a deficit to me. So it didn't really matter which one I was on. Like, as long as there was some sort of change that allowed people to talk to me more, that allowed me to feel more accepted. As far as the craziest or the most extreme, I remember when my now husband and I started dating and we tried to lose weight together, and we started the olive oil diet, which was unfortunately what it sounds like, where we would take a cup of olive oil and try to drink it
No.
before everything we ate.
Did you just
And
throw up? I mean, is that...
I'm laughing because it was so insane. And we were like, we gotta try it. We gotta try it. We gotta try it. We were in like that new phase of started dating, and we had a lot of heavy meals, and we did, a lot of dining out. And so we both gained quite a bit of weight, and we're like, well, obviously we have to lose weight now. And, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And he's like, here's one. This will make us lose weight fast. Well, no wonder. It's forking olive oil. So,
Sounds
yeah.
fucking horrible.
Oh my God. It was a cup of olive oil before every meal. And we would try to take it as if it was a shot. We tried to be friendly about it, playful about it. We both were just disgusted. I would run to the bathroom, and no wonder you lost weight.
Okay, that's super gross.
It was outrageous. Do you want to know how long we lasted on this?
2 days.
Just about. And it did what they want you to do. Like we spent the money, and we followed we read up on it, and then we switched to a different diet after that.
I remember I made up this diet when I was a teenager, and this was the diet. So the first 2 days, you could just have as much Diet Coke as you wanted. And by you, I mean me. This was a diet I made up for myself. So I basically had nothing but chemicals for 2 days, no calories. 2 days of just Diet Coke. Then 2 days of one Yoplait per day. I mean, when I tell you restrictive, this was not a diet. This was anorexia, but wait, not really, because here's what happened. So 2 days of Diet Coke, 2 days of one Yoplait per day. And I think I could have lettuce. And then the next 2 days, I could have 2 Yoplaits per day.
Ooh.
It was very fancy because I could choose different flavors. And I lost so much weight so fast. And I remember going to school, and people were like, oh my God, you're scary skinny. And I was like, oh yes, I know. I was so pleased with myself. But then I got really forking hungry. So what did I do? I just spent like the whole weekend binging on everything, and I gained all this weight back. And then I was too embarrassed to go to school. So I pretended to be sick for like a week so that I could lose weight and get back to a weight that I was originally before I started my Diet Coke Yoplait extravaganza. And it was so miserable. But I was also on all the other ones. I remember doing Atkins, and I had a friend, and we were doing Atkins together, and we're like, this is awesome. We can eat salami and roast beef and whipped cream.
The allowances allow this to
Oh
last
yeah,
maybe 5 days.
we get to. So obviously, diets don't work because deprivation leads to either the experience of deprivation or the anticipation of it. I'll go on a diet tomorrow leads to that Last Supper mentality, or I better have everything I can't have or won't be able to have on this diet now before I start the diet, or after the diet. Like me, it's, oh, I am so deprived and so hungry, and now I'm going to binge.
Well, and so many patients arrive in my sessions asking me, like, which diets do I promote? Which diets do I suggest for people who are fat? Because that's the population I work with. And I always try to remind them that the word diet actually stems from lifestyle. Like we want to talk about how you are happy and how you feel nourished, and finding an eating style, a movement routine, a stress management, like a sleep routine, social support that works for you. It's not just about having olive oil or salami, right? Like it's not just about trying to restrict and support this industry that doesn't give a rat's ass about you, and it just is it's heartbreaking, really, how powerful this industry has become and how mind washed we have become, because we think that it will work. It will be what makes us happy. It will be what makes us fit into that outfit. It will be what makes us get that person back who we lost, or, make us fall in love or make us successful. When in reality, what this does is it makes us so obsessed with what we're eating and so judgmental and so invested in this industry that is just going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, it's a $60 billion diet for a reason. Diet, and it's a $60 billion industry for a reason. It would be like a car company selling cars that never broke down. No, the cars need to break down so we could keep buying cars. Diets need to not work because they don't, so that we can keep buying diet books and diet food and diet this and diet that and everything that feeds, so to speak, the $60 billion diet industry. And what's so sad to me is that it separates us from ourselves. Like if we're thinking about what we should eat or shouldn't eat, what we can eat or can't eat, what we weigh, we're not thinking about our lives. We're not thinking about what we want, what we have, what we experience. We're not thinking about our relationships. We're just thinking that when we get to a lower weight, we're going to somehow have a better life. And if losing weight gives you a better life, I mean, what a superpower that would be.
Exactly. I have had to sit down with myself as well as my patients and write a list of these shoulds that we come up with. We come up with endless shoulds of diet-based beliefs that if, I should lose this weight and I should lose this weight and I will be happier. I should lose this weight and I will be a better person. I will be more desirable. And these shoulds consume us. These shoulds take over all of our thinking, and it eliminates any room for anything else in our lives. It prevents us from being able to access our creativity, our compassion, our curiosity. It's so draining for folks, and they don't realize how much space these shoulds take and how much time these diets consume, because that weight that they're chasing, that number that they're chasing, which really has zero connection to the actual why most of the time. So, I mean, as you say, never trust that 4-letter word. I don't know why so many folks invest so much trust into that word when this information is also available.
I had a professor in grad school and he used to say, don't should on yourself. And I thought he was the cleverest person ever. And then I
Right.
realized it was actually an old saying. But yeah, don't should on yourself, because we create these rules that then we break, then we feel bad for breaking. And I guess the answer of why is that it gives us the illusion of control, or we can displace a sense of control or feelings. Like if we're feeling bad about ourselves because we ate a cake, then we're not feeling bad about other things in our lives. I just talked to someone the other day. I'm going to disguise it a little bit, but she's really upset at her sister. And as long as she's upset at herself for what she ate and what she weighs, guess what she's thinking about? How upset she is with herself. She is not thinking about her sister. She has no control over her sister. Her sister has a personality disorder. Her sister's never going to be the sister she wants and needs and deserves. There's nothing she can do about it. Total helplessness, powerlessness. But there is that illusion of power over, I can have some say or control over what I eat, but also, more importantly, the powerlessness can then be about food, something you can potentially manage, versus powerlessness over a person that you can't do anything about.
Yeah, that powerlessness can really take over. And I appreciate what Dr. Nina is saying. And I think we've both had patients like this who feel really trapped and really hopeless in these relationships that mean a lot to them and are influential. And, oftentimes these relationships are pretty long term and they feel stuck on how to move forward and feel either respected or reciprocated love, or as you're describing, what's deserved. And so they turn to something that does feel in their control, which is fascinating because diets actually aren't in your control. But it's this illusion, as we keep referencing, where if I can focus on this, I don't have to focus on that. I don't have to think of those emotions that are provoked because of that interaction. And I would encourage our listeners to think about relationships that surround you. And when you do turn to a diet, when you do end up binging, think about, what am I trying to not think about by focusing on this? What am I trying to avoid? What am I trying to not address right now because it might feel too difficult, and instead focusing on this food? And that might be something to start turning your attention to, even though it feels really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not what you're eating that is the problem, it's what's eating at you. And of course, that can be really hard to discern when you're so quick at turning to food, you forget you're actually turning away from something else. And that's why, just briefly to help you out, listeners, that's why I created my signature food mood formula, because what we turn to in moments when we're emotionally eating can give us clues as to why we're doing that. So really briefly, and I go through it in much more detail in my book, The Binge Cure, if you're turning to smooth and creamy foods, it's comfort that you're likely needing. So if ice cream and yogurt and stuff like that, smooth peanut butter is your thing, think about how else you can comfort yourself. Filling foods like cake, pasta, pizza, all the things that take up space within us, those are associated with loneliness or emptiness, filling a void. And chips, pretzels, anything with a crunch, that's associated with forms of anger, like frustration, irritation, rage. And as people always say, well, what about chocolate? Which actually fits the formula, but anything sweet that doesn't fit the formula, maybe you need more sweetness in your life. So that is a way that you can start to tune into what's eating at you. And when we diet, we're thinking about our bodies and our food. We're not thinking about ourselves. It's actually a form of self-abandonment. That's the forking truth. Dieting is self-abandonment.
I have utilized Dr. Nina's book with so many of my patients who are like, no, it's just this food. I just really love this food. It's just, no, I promise there's nothing wrong here. I just really have this addiction to chips. It's just me and the chip stock. Help me out here. Okay, well, let's take a look at this book that Dr. Nino is just referencing and talk about this. Like, what really is there? What sweetness are you missing? What loneliness are you experiencing? And it takes a while to admit. It takes a while to explore it and acknowledge, like, oof, this is something I feel very vulnerable about. And oof, I don't know if I really want to talk about this. And it it's okay. Like it's okay for you to defend it for a while, because I think that's actually part of accepting the fact that this is something that you may have been avoiding for a long time. But the algorithm that she describes in her book is so helpful. I really encourage all of you to use it. I've seen it work with a lot of folks, and it takes some time, but time is necessary. You know, we have to process these emotions. We have to understand them, explore them, unpack them, not just sit with them.
Not sit with them. Exactly. You cannot sit through your feelings any more than you can ignore them, drop them, positive think them away, or stuff them down.
Positive think them away. I'm so sick of that. Just think affirmations. Just just think good things. Just think positive things. The negative will melt away. That is not accurate, it turns out.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? This idea of positive versus negative emotions. Like
Mm.
somehow, like you're supposed to only have positive emotions, and if you're having positive feelings, then you're a positive person. But if you have quote unquote negative emotions, then somehow you're being negative. And then you feel bad about yourself and you feel like you're being a downer, as opposed to you're a person who's experiencing a range of feelings. Some of them may be easier to tolerate than others, but ultimately, we have to process them. The only way to get rid of feelings is to feel them. And otherwise we're focused on other things. We're focused on dieting. We're focused on the number on the scale. And we're not focusing on ourselves and our lives. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to focus on you. Yes, it's harder to think about, gosh, it's so forking hard to think about what's eating at you. It is so hard to feel feelings you don't want to feel, to think thoughts you don't want to think. But ultimately, it's what leads to liberation. It's easier to think about, I shouldn't eat those cookies. It's way easier, but it doesn't help you get where you want to go.
And I really want to emphasize what Dr. Nina just gave you permission to do. Unpleasant emotions will be there. You will experience them. And when you do, it's not because you're a problematic person who's broken and need fixing. It's not because there's something wrong with you. Unpleasant emotions, bad emotions, whatever the hell we want to call them, are actually a part of being a human. We get to feel things. This is actually a remarkable, fascinating aspect of being a human, is that we have this whole spectrum of emotions, and there are so many emotions you can feel. And there's a lot of apps out there now, which I really appreciate, that help you understand different ways that you can feel that might be hard to name or might be hard to access. And also you can feel multiple emotions at the same time, right? And they can be all across the spectrum, and people feel very uncomfortable with that. I just want to feel happy. I just want to feel content. Those are the only emotions I'm comfortable with. Well, let's expand that emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, and interact with the different emotions and understand the source of them. That's freedom.
That's humanity. And 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 when you can embrace your humanity and you can think about a range of different thoughts, then you're going to feel much better in the world. And when you feel much better in the world, and you know you can cope with whatever it is that life throws at you. And by the way, to your point, Dr. Eliza, yes, uncomfortable emotions are going to be there. Whatever the number on the scale is, if you weigh 250 pounds or 300 pounds, and you're grappling with something painful, guess what? You can weigh 130 pounds and the same thing will happen in your life. You will experience the same feelings. You can't lose emotions by losing weight.
Oh, well said. I love that. And I feel like that what speaks to that too is, so often I'll have folks come to me and say, "So I've lost the weight. Why am I not happier?" Well, have you done the work? Have you acknowledged how you're feeling? Have you acknowledged maybe what was packed into the weight? Because now that the weight's gone, you have nothing else to hide, right? Like what else is happening? And people don't feel ready for that because it can feel really scary because dieting is so easy to hide behind, to hide your focus within. And I want to be really clear. As a fat person, I know that weight can be a focus, and I know that dieting can feel like this way to normalcy or this way to lose that weight and be a healthier person. And as a result of that, as I started this episode today, I have done so many diets, and it's led me to deeper depression. It's led me to actually feel worse than had I not. So now I'm in a space where I'm trying to explore what foods feel good to me. And feel good to me mean a million different things, right? Something that feels good to me after a workout, something that feels good to me when I wake up, something that feels good and nourishing when I don't feel well, right? There's so many different ways to interact with food. And if you notice that you're going to chips, if you notice that you're going to chocolate, as Dr. Nina and I are trying to describe, just be curious. Why am I? Why is this happening? It's okay to have chips. It's okay to have chocolate. It's okay to have those emotional experiences. What's important and what we're trying to say here is that you just need to tune in, not zone out.
And yes, and give yourself permission. That people are so afraid to give themselves permission because they think, oh, if I let myself eat anything, like the idea of food neutrality sounds great, but if I give myself permission, I'll just eat everything. Well, that's not giving yourself permission. I talk a lot about how I raise my girls, and I would give them the two different options. Like, do you want the hummus and carrots, or do you want some cookies? Do you want some ice cream, or do you want an apple and peanut butter? And guess what? Because they were presented these two options as if they were equal, a lot of the time they just took the healthier option. And sometimes they had the cookies and sometimes they had the ice cream, but more often than not, because they were attuned into their bodies, they chose the healthy option. And somehow, as soon as you say you can't have that ice cream, you can't have that, that's when we want it more. So when people say, oh, I'm going to give myself permission to have it, that's not the same as eating all of it. It really means permission to trust your body, to sometimes have some of it, not eat it for emotional reasons, not eat it to stuff something down or distract yourself or fill a void or express something within. But when you actually have permission from yourself, truly, and it's easier said than done, you can choose, you have power, you can choose, do I want that or do I not want that?
Dr. Nina, I appreciate you for bringing up the concept of trusting yourself. I feel like that's something that I know I've had a lot of difficulty with, and I know a lot of people who are fat that I've worked with really struggle with that trust. Like, if I don't have any sort of bumpers up, or if I don't have any sort of like structure, then I'm in the Wild West. I'm going to eat whatever in front of me. I'm curious if you can describe, when you've worked with people, how do you help folks develop that trust?
Well, first I distinguish between having chips with your sandwich at lunch and yes, a sandwich, which includes bread. And by the way, for those of you who think you cannot have a carb, there's this amazing thing that happens in our body called gluconeogenesis. Oh, that's so much fun to say. Gluconeogenesis. And it converts, even if you are on the Atkins diet and you only eat salami and roast beef, as I did for, I think, a week, your body, the process of gluconeogenesis turns that into carbs. So for all of you out there who are like, I can't eat a carb, you can eat a carb. Whether you eat carbs or don't eat carbs, your body's going to pull out the carbs. Okay, so what I say is, so what I was saying is, there's a difference between eating some chips with a sandwich at lunch and diving into a full-size bag of Doritos and hating yourself with every bite. There's a huge difference. And what I tell people is, look, binging or emotional eating is a frenemy. It helps you in some way. It also, of course, hurts you, hurts your body, hurts your spirit, all the things. But unless we find a new friend, it's going to be hard to give up right away. So right now, let's just change the goal from I will not eat that to I'm going to figure out why I'm eating that. Success is not you failed to eat the chips, you used willpower. It's why power, not willpower. So the first step is let's look at your why. Let's figure that out. That's success. And then as we recognize what that is and cultivate new ways of being with yourself, being kinder to yourself, supporting yourself, processing these feelings, you will naturally not turn to that food to escape yourself.
Yeah, so it sounds like trusting yourself is learning yourself and understanding why you think the way you think and why your actions go a certain direction, follow a certain process, and examining that domino effect. Like, where did that first domino fall and why? Like, what happened there? Can you enjoy that sandwich and chips? Or when you eat the chips, does it turn into, ooh, now I have permission to have a whole bag of chips? And then if that's the case, then you probably have something else going on. It's probably not just having a sandwich and chips. I feel like that's what I'm hearing from you. And yeah.
In my experience, these are the reasons why people binge or emotionally eat. One is restriction. When you tell yourself, I shouldn't have that, I can't have that, of course you're going to want it more and maybe end up binging on it. And then if you have the thing, you say, oh, the day is ruined. I might as well have all the things I'm not letting myself have. And then it's just a forking disaster. There you go. The other reason is eating to calm down. Sometimes people eat to sedate their bodies because they don't know how to calm themselves, or they eat for energy. So that's also problematic. But of course, the number one reason is to cope, to avoid, distract, to numb, to fill the void, to comfort themselves, to self-soothe, all of those things. And so really getting curious about your why instead of focusing on what you're eating, that's the key to liberation. That's ultimately how you liberate yourself from emotional eating or binge eating and take back control and feel good in your body without dieting, without counting a single macro. Yes, it is possible.
What you're talking about is making me think of when people do diet and they have those infamous cheat days. And they go hog wild and they have all the foods and they do all the takeout and they do this crazy, crazy consumption, binge, make up for all the week. And this is in like a day. So depending on the diet god that they're practicing under, they do it for 8 hours or a whole day or the weekend. Ooh, the weekend. And then Monday, back to restricting. And then they repeat and repeat and repeat. And they're like, I don't feel like I'm getting any better.
Shocker. Wouldn't it be nice to wake up and think about what you're going to do that day, what your plans are, to think about other things. We have a lot on our minds, but we're not allowing ourselves to think interesting thoughts because we are so caught up as a culture, as a society, in all of this diet forkery.
Well
I just
said,
made
Dr.
that up.
Nina.
I love that word, forkery.
But you make such a good point. The freedom of being able to wake up in the morning and, I don't know, listen to the birds or the cars if you live in the city, or the noise of your children crying next door or playing or what have you, and being able to think about that or think about anything else besides what you're going to eat and restrict yourself from, and when you're going to binge and when you're going to purge and how much weight you're going to lose. And it doesn't have to be a full-time job. It just doesn't.
And it doesn't make us interesting. I was at a restaurant recently and I was waiting for my friend and I was overhearing, and this has happened to me multiple times, but I was overhearing this group of people. They were obviously like executives, women and guys. And you know what they were talking about? How, well, they were good last night, so they're gonna indulge in this, or they were apologizing for taking the bread, or they were justifying, all they were talking about was justifying, explaining, and defending their food choices.
Oh, man.
A group of people in suits who presumably have something else to talk about. Not that
You
you
would
only
hope.
have something to talk about if you're wearing a suit, but who presumably have something else to talk about other than should they, can they, will they, did they. It's boring. It's boring. You're not boring. Be your bold, interesting self. Don't think about all of this boring diet stuff. It's not interesting. You are interesting. Get more interested in you and talk about other things that light up your life, that you're thinking about, that you want, that you fear, that you wish for, that you've done, that you want to do. That's more interesting.
Yeah, the rest of your life wants some attention, and it deserves that attention. And I also imagine what we were talking about earlier, any of those conflicts or any of those relationships that could use some watering or that could use some time, attention, quality time. Maybe redesignate your energy. Maybe distribute your time so that you can spend it doing things that bring you joy. We all know there's a lot in this world that brings fear, that brings uncertainty, and with that, let's use what we have to be around people we love and to spend that time doing things that actually promote those pleasant emotions and that actually are interesting, that are actually thought-provoking and allow you to learn and allow you to explore. And I bet you won't even think twice about dieting after that.
Well said, Dr. Eliza. Yes.
That's the forking truth.
And that's the forking truth. So dieting equals hating yourself, hating your body, wanting to be different. You can lose weight and still feel good about you. We're not against losing weight. We're against dieting. And you can lose weight without dieting. When you normalize all foods, when you get more interested in why you're eating, when you cultivate food neutrality, when you're able to eat because you're hungry and stop when you're full, and it doesn't have to do with emotional eating, you will lose weight and you will be able to eat anything you want. I'm living proof of that. So are so many of my patients. It's
I know
possible.
it's weird to hear Dr. Nina say you can lose weight without dieting. That is so strange. I bet a lot of you were like, what the hell is she even saying? It's such a weird concept, everybody, but there's so much truth to it. The industry doesn't want you to think that. They want you to think that you have to depend on their protocol in order to get there, but that is not true.
It's a forking lie. So give up dieting. Let us know, by the way, if you have any questions about this, if you've had experience with this, if you want to have experience with this, write us, let us know. Let us know your struggle. And we may feature your question on one of our future episodes. And that's it for this episode of The Forking Truth. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a forking thing.